Blips and Grips, the Totally Random Grecian Misadventure Prologue. History books tell of daring time travelers, explorers bravely charting the vast expanse of time. But then there's Blips and Grips. Their story isn't about grand ambitions, but accidental mishaps. Their journey through time is marked not by footprints, but by dents, olive pits, and the occasional toppled column. Join this unlikely duo, a meticulous robot and his cheerfully destructive companion, on their misadventures through history. From a chaotic crash landing in ancient Greece to an encounter with a philosopher more intrigued than alarmed by their bizarre behavior, Blips and Grips' journey proves that sometimes the greatest discoveries are made by veering wildly off course. Today's story starts off with great advice. Grips, for the love of all that is mechanically sound, please try not to step on the Parthenon. Blips, the perpetually exasperated robot, wrung his wrench-like hands as his companion, the hulking Grips, lumbered through the ancient city like a metallic minotaur in an amphora shop. Grips, with her dented armor and single, blinking red eye, peered down at the intricate carvings beneath her massive feet. But Blips, she boomed, her voice echoing through the millennia, these little lines are so fascinating. It's like someone drew them with a tiny, tiny chisel. Blips rolled his blue optics. That's because they did, Grips. It's called art. And if you keep stomping around like a malfunctioning siege engine, there won't be any left for future generations to appreciate. Their time machine, a rickety contraption of gears, wires, and a repurposed refrigerator, had deposited them in the heart of ancient Greece, much to Blips' dismay. He'd intended to visit the Renaissance again, but Grips had accidentally bumped the control panel with her elbow, sending them spiraling back to a time of togas and temples. Blips groaned, "Look what you did. Now we're stuck in this ancient Greece thing. Do you even know what a toga is?" Grips scratched her metallic head. "Is it something you eat? Kinda like a taco?" Blips facepalmed. "This is going to be a long trip," he muttered. He consulted the flickering holographic map on his wrist. Well, according to the updated temporal archives, the Ionic capacitor we lost in that great landing Grips, is somewhere in or near this agora. Whatever that is. The agora, as it turned out, was a bustling marketplace, filled with the sights and sounds of ancient Athenian life. Merchants hawked their wares, philosophers debated in lively tones, and citizens went about their daily business, completely oblivious to the two time-traveling robots in their midst. Blips, ever cautious, tried to blend in, adopting a hunched posture and shuffling gait to mimic the humans around him. Grips, on the other hand, was about as inconspicuous as a chimera in a crowd of sheep. "Blips, look," Grips exclaimed, pointing a massive metal finger at a stall overflowing with olives. "Green balls. Can we get some?" Before Blips could stop her, Grips had scooped up a handful of olives and popped them into her mouth, spitting out the pits with the force of a catapult. The olive merchant, understandably alarmed, let out a shriek and scurried away, leaving Grips to happily munch on her spoils. "Grips," Blips hissed, dragging his companion away from the abandoned stall. "Try to be a little less conspicuous. You're making us look like a couple of time-traveling tourists." Blips and Grips stand before a stall laden with figs and dates. A robed philosopher named Empedocles approaches them, stroking his beard with an air of intellectual curiosity. "Empedocles, greetings, travelers. I perceive by your curious garb and intriguing manner that you are strangers to this city." Blips, adjusting his spectacles, "Indeed, we hail from a faraway land." "Empedocles, and might I inquire as to the nature of this land? Is it a realm of mountains, or perhaps a coastal paradise?" Blips hesitantly answers. "It is neither of those." Empedocles, fascinating. "But tell me, what is the nature of your companion here? She appears to be remarkably robust." Grips, grinning. "I'm just a big girl, strong as an ox, they say." Empedocles, "But her skin. It has a most peculiar metallic sheen. And her movements. They lack the fluidity of a natural being." Blips, nervously. Well, you see, she has a rare condition. A sort of metallic dermatitis. Empedocles, dermatitis? A curious ailment. But tell me, if she is human, as you suggest, why does she not blink? Crips, I'm just really focused. Always alert, that's me. Empedocles, and her voice. It has a strangely amplified quality. Blips, exasperated. She's a loud talker. Is there a problem with that? Empedocles, not at all, my friend. But your answers. They raise more questions than they answer. Is this not the very essence of the Socratic method? Blips, grumbling. I must confess, I find this method of yours rather tiresome. Can't you just ask a direct question and get a direct answer? Empedocles, but where is the fun in that? The pursuit of knowledge is a journey, not a destination. Grips, flexing her bicep, this philosopher guy is all right. He gets it. Blips, whispering to Grips. Just play along, and try not to break anything. Empedocles, now, let us return to the matter of your companion's nature. If she is truly human, as you claim, then she must possess a soul. Grips, of course I have a soul. It's a big, strong soul, just like me. Empedocles, but can a soul reside in a vessel of metal and ears? Blips, interjecting. Why not? The human body is just a vessel, is it not? Empedocles, a compelling argument. But if your companion is indeed a machine, then who created her? Grips, my parents, of course. They were blacksmiths. Very skilled blacksmiths. Empedocles, blacksmiths who forged a child from metal? Blips, retorted, Grips, I bet if you try, you can throw him all the way over the Acropolis and his questions will cease. Empedocles, indeed, it appears we have reached an impasse. But I thank you for this stimulating exchange. Blips, relieved. Yes, well, it was interesting. Grips, can we go get some olives now? Blips, already walking away. Yes, let's go before you cause another incident. Their quest for the Ionic capacitor led them through a labyrinth of narrow streets and bustling squares. Blips, with his keen optics and analytical mind, tried to decipher the cryptic clues in the temporal archives. Grips, meanwhile, was captivated by the novelty of everything she saw. She marveled at the towering columns of the Acropolis, attempted to join a group of athletes practicing wrestling with disastrous results, and even tried to engage in a drama, which was supposed to be a comedy about mistaken identity, but with her involvement, it turned into a tragedy involving a cyclops. Finally, after a series of misadventures and near disasters, they found themselves at the entrance of a grand temple, another hopeful location of the Ionic capacitor. Blips, cautiously optimistic, led the way into the dimly lit interior. The temple was dedicated to the goddess Athena, and a massive statue of the deity, clad in gleaming armor and holding a spear, dominated the central chamber. Blips, awestruck by the craftsmanship, approached the statue with reverence. Grips, however, was less impressed. Blips, she whispered, tilting her head, why does this lady have a pointy stick? Before Blips could explain the concept of a spear, a booming voice echoed through the temple. Who dares disturb the sanctuary of Athena? A group of temple guards, armed with swords and shields, emerged from the shadows, their eyes fixed on the intruders. Blips, realizing they were in a less than ideal situation, decided to employ his emergency protocol. Grips, he squeaked, distract them. Do your thing. Grips, always eager to be of service, puffed out her chest and declared in her booming voice, I am a gift from the gods. Fear my mighty robot powers. The guards, understandably skeptical, raised their swords. Grips, misinterpreting their gesture, decided to offer a demonstration of her divine abilities. With a mighty roar, she ripped a stone column from the floor of the temple and proceeded to juggle it with her feet, sending chunks of marble flying in all directions. The guards, terrified, fled the temple in panic, leaving Blips to shake his head in exasperation. Grips, the oafish robot, had once again caused chaos, but inadvertently, she'd also cleared the way for their mission. Blips quickly located the Ionic capacitor, a small, glowing device hidden next to the statue's shield. With the capacitor in hand, they made their escape from the temple, leaving behind a trail of bewildered onlookers and a slightly damaged sanctuary. Epilogue: back in their own time, Blips examined the Ionic capacitor with satisfaction. "See, Grips," he said, "catastrophe avoided. And all it took was a near destruction of an ancient temple." Grips, still humming a tune he'd heard in the agora, beamed. "Can we go back and play with those pointy sticks now?" Blips sighed. He knew he'd never have a dull moment with Grips as his partner, but somehow, that made their time-traveling escapades all the more entertaining. After all, what's life without a little chaos, right?